Alright guys, this is the lesson 14 video where I'm going to be going over solving equations. So, some lesson intentions, I'll be able to understand inverse operations, solve equations, and use distribution to help me solve equations. And also being able to find solutions with word problems. Right, so first off, inverse operations, what are those? They are math operations that undo each other. So essentially the inverse operation is always the opposite, right? So if you have addition, you would want to subtract, right? The opposite of addition is subtraction. If you have multiplication, you'd want to divide. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. If you are subtracting, you want to add, and if you are dividing, you want to multiply. So whenever you are solving equations, you always want to do the opposite. Okay, so here we have some semi-simple equations. You could probably go, well, 3 times, I know this could be 5, right? Because 3 times 5 is 15. So we're going to solve this using inverse operations. So I want to show you guys how to formally solve equations, because you got to learn how to formally solve them, because we're going to get to a point where we can't just do these in our heads, so we have to know how to keep our work nice and organized. So your equal sign is like a barrier, okay? Anything you do to one side of your equal sign, you have to do to the other. And if I look over here on the left side of my equal sign, I have 3 times x, right? Anytime you have a number and a variable next to each other, that is multiplication. So 3 times x. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Okay, so whenever you are dividing an equation, you draw lines. As you make a fraction, your fraction shows division. Now, our goal to solve any equation is to get x by itself. Okay, so if I want to get x by itself here, okay, I need to get rid of this 3. So since I am getting rid of this 3, I need to divide by 3 on both sides. Okay, when you do that, 3 divided by 3, that cancels. I'm left with just x. 15 divided by 3 gives me 5. And then I'm done. So again, here, your equal sign is a barrier. Okay, so I have x plus 6 equals 20. So my goal again is to get x by itself, right? And x is being added to 6. So the opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6. So again, if I subtract 6 from my left side, I have to do it to my right side. So I have x equals 14. Again, equal sign is like your barrier. I have x minus 2 equals 6, right? I want to get x by itself, so that means I need to get this minus 2 out of here. So the opposite of subtracting 2 is adding 2. So I have x is equal to 6 plus 2 is 8. Now this one over here probably looks the weirdest. However, don't get too caught up on it. Okay, again, your equal sign is always your barrier. Now this says x divided by 6. Okay, remember anytime you see a fraction like this, fractions also represent division. So this is saying x is being divided by 6. So if I need to get this 6 out of here, right, my goal is to get that 6 gone, so that way I have x by itself. The opposite of dividing by 6 is multiplying by 6. Right, so when I multiply this whole fraction by 6, they actually just cancel and I'm left with just x. And 4 times 6 is 24. So your goal is always to look at the side of the equation where x is, and then all the numbers that are on that side you need to get rid of. So that means you need to do all the inverse operations to get rid of it. And don't forget, anything you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. Okay, so here are some more problems, right? I have an x in each of them, so let's solve them. Now again, equal sign is your barrier. Okay, I have 7 times x plus 8 equals 22. Okay, now there's a few things happening on this side with my x, right? I have it being multiplied to 7, and I have it being added to 8. Now, normally when before, like if you were to ask to simplify this, you would use PEMDAS, right? But remember that when we're solving equations, we're doing the opposite operation, right? The inverse operation or the opposite. So instead of doing PEMDAS like this and going in this order, what you're actually going to do is you want to solve for x using the opposite. So you want to use SADMAP. SADMAP. So that means that if you can subtract or add a number first, you want to do that. So when you look over here at this side of your equation, right, I have addition, which means I can get rid of that. So let's do that first. So I want to subtract 8 and subtract 8. So these two 8s are going to cancel. This 7x is still there, so I'm going to bring that down. And then 22 minus 8 is 14. Okay. So now from here, right, 7 is being multiplied to x, so I need to divide by 7, and x is going to equal 2, because 14 divided by 7 is 2. Okay, so let's look at this one here, right? Remember, your equal sign is your barrier. Anything you do to one side, you have to do to the other. I have a minus 13. I can get rid of that. So let's add 13 first. That's going to cancel. This minus 5x I'm going to bring straight down. And 12 plus 13 gives me 25. So from here, okay, I need to get rid of this minus 5. And since it's being multiplied to x, remember the opposite is division, so I'm going to divide by negative 5. Those will cancel. Because now here, this is where you have to be careful with your signs. Okay, x is not 5. X is negative 5 because I have a positive divided by a negative. So if you're dealing with a problem like this and there's a negative sign and you're not 100% sure whether or not it should be positive or negative, don't guess. Type this into a calculator and double check. All right, and then here we have this very last one with decimals. The decimals, don't freak out, okay? We can use a calculator, remember. So again, I want to look for subtraction or addition first. So I have addition, which means I can undo that with subtraction. And because notice that whenever I'm getting rid of a number, like if I want to get rid of this 3.9, I am subtracting by 3.9. I'm subtracting, or my inverse operation number is whatever number I'm trying to get rid of. So that will go away, and I'm left with 1.5x equals, let me type that into my calculator, 8.4 minus 3.9. I get 4.5. And so since this is being multiplied to x, I need to divide it. Right, 1.5 times x, so I'm going to divide by 1.5, the inverse operation. And x is going to be equal to 3. Okay. Now let's start solving some equations with fractions. Now, just because there are fractions, don't freak out. Okay, we're still going to solve this the same way as we did before, except now we're going to have fractions. But remember that you can use a calculator, so use that, okay? It'll save you some time, and it'll save you a decent amount of work that you have to do. Okay, so I have 3x minus 4/5 equals negative 1/2. So to get rid of this minus 4/5, I need to add 4/5. Okay, so since I added 4/5 here, I need to add 4/5 here. So these are going to cancel, and I'm left with just 3x. Okay, so I have 3x is equal to this over here. Now, I'm going to write this horizontal. So this says negative 1/2 plus 4 over 5. So this right here is what I'm going to type into my calculator. Okay, so I have negative 1/2, and I am adding that to 4 over 5. And it tells me that this is equal to 3 over 10. So I have 3 over 10 over here. All right. Now, I have 3 times x, right? So the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Now, I'm going to type this into my calculator from top to bottom. So I have 3/10 divided by 3. So that is what I'm going to type in. 3/10 divided by 3. And I get 1/10. 1 over 10. So even though you have fractions, remember, use your calculator. Utilize it. You can use it. Why wouldn't you? All right, so again, I have x over 3, or x divided by 3, minus 1/4 equals 2. So to get rid of this minus 1/4, I need to do the opposite, which is adding 1/4. Remember, anything you do to one side of your equal sign, you got to do to the other. And this is going to come straight down with that x over 3. And I have 2 plus 1 over 4. When I'm writing this horizontally instead of vertically, all I'm doing is writing it from top to bottom. So 2 plus 1 over 4. So 2 plus 1 over 4. This will give me 9 over 4. Now you can leave it as an improper fraction like that. It's actually easier to leave it like this when you are using fractions with equations. So just leave it like that. Don't change it to a mixed number. Okay, so now I have x divided by 3. The opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And I have x is equal to, and it tells me that this is 27 over 4. And I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't have to change it, so just leave it as an improper fraction. 27 over 4. Okay, so I think this might be 14.2. I think this is 14.2. 14.2 goes over distribution and equations. Okay, so there's 2 different ways you can solve this. Okay, so I'm going to first start with the method that we know. Okay, so the method that we know is taking this 3 and distributing it to everything inside the parentheses here. Remember, when you are distributing, you are multiplying. Okay, so I have 3 times x plus 3 times 8, which is 24. And this is equal to 39. Okay, so from here, right, equal sign, sorry, equal sign is your dividing, right? That's your barrier. Anything you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if I want to get rid of this plus 24, the opposite of plus 24 is subtracting 24. So I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. This 3x is still here, and that is equal to 15. So 3 times x equals 15. The opposite of 3 times x is dividing by 3. So I get x is equal to 5. Okay, now for this one here, there's another way that you can do this. This 3 outside of the parentheses here, I can get rid of it, right? This 3 is technically being multiplied to everything in here. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 would be dividing by 3, right? So if I divide this half of my equation by 3, again, I need to do the same thing to the other side. Now, when you do it this way, the only thing that is being divided by 3 is this out here. Anything that's inside the parentheses is not being touched, okay? If it's inside the parentheses are kind of like a force field. Nothing can be divided or multiplied in here, okay? So these 3's right here will cancel, and I will be left with x plus 8. And then don't forget to divide this side, and I get 13. Then to solve this, I have to subtract 8 from both sides, and I still get x equals 5. I have a few examples where I go over solving the distributing problems to the two different ways. Do whichever way you think you understand most. Okay, there's not one specific way you have to do it, but just know that you have two options. The course shows you these two options for solving. Okay, so here, right, let's distribute originally. So taking this minus 6 times x and negative 6 times, remember this negative sign is attached to the 14, so it's negative 6 times negative 14. And that gives me positive 84, and this is equal to 72. Okay, so from here, I want to get rid of this 84, so I'm going to subtract 84. Right, this gives me negative 6x equals, I'm just double checking my calculator really quick. This is negative 12, and then I need to divide both sides by negative 6. So x is equal to 2. Okay. Now, again, when you divide this side by negative 6, because it's that number outside the parentheses, that's the only thing that will cancel. Everything else inside stays the exact same. Now, 72 divided by negative 6 is negative 12. So let's add 14. And x is equal to 2. So again, we get the same answer. Now, again, right here, right, with this minus 12 and 14, this is where I will get a lot of different answers because we don't 100% understand our adding with integer rule. So again, double check this by typing it into a calculator. Alrighty, so now let's do some with fractions. Again, don't freak out. You have a calculator, it'll be okay. So 3/4 times x minus, I'm typing this into my calculator right now, 3/4 times negative 9 gives me negative 27/4, and that's equal to 6. Okay, so now let's add this 27/4 and add 27/4. These will cancel. 3/4x equals C6 plus 27/4. I get 51/4. Okay, now here, right, I have this 3/4 being multiplied to x, so I need to divide by 3/4 and divide by 3/4. So right here, I have 51/4 divided by 3/4. This is what you want to type into your calculator. So 51 divided by 4, or 51/4 divided by 3/4. And it tells me that this is 17. So that means x is 17. Okay, now let's look at this side. Remember, I want to get rid of this 3/4, so I'm going to divide by 3/4 on both sides. These will cancel. I'm left with everything that's inside my parentheses. And over here, my calculator, I'm typing in 6 divided by 3/4, not 3/4. So 6 divided by 3/4, and it tells me that this is 8. And then I have plus 9 plus 9, and x is equal to 17. So if you guys notice, this method over here, the one we did over here, was a lot shorter than this one over here. We had less fractions, we were doing less solving for, and sometimes this method right here is faster. Because if you think about it, what we're doing is we're keeping these numbers nice and small. When you're distributing in, you're multiplying, which means that you're getting larger numbers. And so sometimes with fractions, especially if they don't cancel right away, you can have kind of a mess. So knowing this method for solving equations like this is very helpful. And if you don't fully understand this, it's okay, because you can always just distribute it regularly, and look, we still get the same answer. Okay, it's really just a matter of which one you prefer to do. But whenever you do this, guys, you have to remember, first of all, to divide both sides of your equal sign by 3/4, and whatever is inside your parentheses does not get touched. It is the same. Okay, and then this is the last part of lesson 14, which is 14.3 with word problems. Okay. It says that Vince gets a ride from his house to the airport using a ride-sharing service. Each ride is $4.75 plus an additional 65 cents per mile. And his total for the ride is $11.90. Okay, so this is where we go back to that y equals kx plus c. Okay, the total always goes by itself. So I have 1190 equals, it is 65 cents per mile. So that's my rate, 0.65x, plus this fee that you have to pay regardless of how far you drive, $4.75. So here, let's solve it, right? I need to subtract 475, subtract 475. This will go away. This is 715. And then to get rid of this 0.65 that's being multiplied to x, I need to divide. Divide. So 7.15 divided by 0.65, and this tells me x is 11. When I do that, this will cancel, and 11. So he lives 11 miles from the airport. 11 miles from the airport. So with these word problems, you got to make sure you can set up your equation, right? Setting up your equation for these is the main part, and it's usually the hardest. So just reread it a few times and make sure you fully understand what is happening. Okay, so it says that Irina is putting together 6 goodie bags with chocolate and hard candy for her birthday party. She puts 4 pieces of hard candy in each goodie bag. Once she is done, she has placed a total of 42 items in the bags. How many pieces of chocolate did she put in each goodie bag? Okay, well, 42 that's how much we know she puts in total. So your total goes by itself. So 42 I know is over there. She's putting together a total of 6 goodie bags. Okay, so here's my 6 goodie bags. Right, here's my 6 goodie bags. And I know she's putting 4 pieces of hard candy in each, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so there's my 4 pieces. Sorry, let me mute those. Okay, sorry. Alright, so here's those 4 pieces of hard candy she's putting in each. Okay, so we need to figure out how many pieces of chocolate she's putting in them. And she's going to put the same amount in each one, right? So I have these 4 pieces plus however many pieces of chocolate she's putting in each one of these. So she has a total of 6 bags, and she is putting 4 pieces of hard candy plus however many chocolate are in each one. Okay, so now here, let's do that dividing method to solve this. Let's divide by 6 on both sides to get rid of that. So 42 divided by 6 is 7, and then what's inside my parentheses stays the same. I need to subtract 4, and 7 minus 4 gives me 3. So she puts in 3 pieces of chocolate. Alright, this word problem says that Natalie? No, Natalia is buying 4 New York outfits, shirts and pants. The shirts are $15 each, and her total is $188. How much did each pair of pants cost? Well, I know what her total is, $188. She's buying 4 total outfits, and there's 2 pieces. The shirts are $15, and the pants I don't know. So I have 15 plus x. So here, let's do that dividing method again and divide by 4 on both sides. 188 divided by 4 gives me 47. These will cancel. I have 15 plus x. Now since this 15 is positive, the opposite of a positive 15 is a negative 1, so that's why I'm subtracting there. 47 minus 15 is 32 equals x. So they are all $32. Nope, I wrote 23. 32, sorry. Okay. And it says that a group of friends, or a group of 7 friends, were at a restaurant, and each person ordered a main course and a side dish. Okay, so they all ordered a main course plus a side dish. The main course cost $10, and the bill total was $125.30. Now there are 7 friends. Each of them ordered a main course plus a side dish, and the main course was $10. So 10 plus x. So if I divide all of this by 7, that will cancel. I'm left with 10 plus x. 125.3 divided by 7 gives me, and then let's subtract 10 from both sides, and you should get x is equal to $7.90. So each side dish is $7.90. Okay, so that is all that I have for solving equations. Solving equations is, at first it can seem like a lot. Honestly, a lot of practice is what helps with these, so if you'd like extra practice, let me know and I can give you that. Or if you'd like some extra resources that kind of walk through explaining it again, let me know and I can get those to you. Solving equations is honestly probably, I feel like, the most important part of 7th grade math, because you're going to use it for forever. So understanding it is huge, and I really want to help you get there. So if you need help, please let me know. Other than that, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.